Let me ask you a simple question. In your leather factory, do you actually know which vendor gives you the best leather? How much is the real cost from raw to finished? And where is your maximum loss happening? Or most of your decisions is still based on experience and guesswork? If that is the case, you are not alone. In a leather factory, nothing is simple. You buy raw skin, but your profit is decided months later. You purchase at one price, but sell in multiple qualities. And sometimes, you don't even know which vendor actually made you money. Now imagine this. What if you could trace every piece of leather? From raw skin to wet blue to finished leather, and know exactly which vendor is best, which process is costly, and where your profit is leaking. That is exactly where ERP comes in. In this video, I will walk you through the complete leather process step by step. And at each stage, I will show you where ERP can completely change the game. Hi, my name is Hussain Nayani. I'm the co-founder and technology consultant at Impliway, an ERP implementation company. So before we start, one important thing. Leather is not standard industry. There is no fixed formula. Every tannery has its own process, its own recipes, and its own quality standards. The difference in the processes and recipes is not the main challenge. The real challenge comes from the raw material, the skin itself. Because leather is a natural material, every skin is different and each one reacts differently during chemical treatment. That inconsistency is what makes the leather industry complex. That is why many decisions depend on experience. But here's the problem. When the business grows, experience alone is not enough. You need data, and if you are thinking, can ERP really handle such complex process? Don't worry. We will answer that as we go step by step. Everything starts with raw skin. You purchase skins based on animal type, cow, goat, etc. Gender, because male skin is usually thicker and larger. Condition, origin, country, area, slaughterhouse, etc. Even feeding conditions, which directly affect quality. Because leather quality depends heavily on how the animal was raised. ERP role here. ERP helps you track which vendor supplied which skin from which area at what price, and what quality outcome came later. Once raw skin arrives, it is selected and graded. That is a very critical stage because early selection defines the final output quality. Also, raw skin cannot be stored for long. It must be processed quickly. Now, ERP role here would be that it can help you GRN with lot tracking, quality inspection at arrival, vendor-wise rejection or acceptance, digital record instead of memory. After chemical processing, probably around 2-3 days, raw skin converts into wet blue. This is the first stable form of leather. Now you can clearly judge the original quality. Wet blue is categorized into multiple grades, and each grade can be further divided. For example, from 300 skins to 100 A grade, 100 B grade, and 100 C grade. ERP role here would be lot-wise categorization, quality grading tracking, yield calculation, input versus output, vendor performance evaluation. Now you can answer which vendor gave more A grade leather. After wet blue, leather goes through multiple stages: pickle, crust, buffing, dyeing, finishing, etc. Each stage involves heavy chemical treatment and process variation, and this can take weeks, and after every stage, the selection process takes place. ERP role here would be to track each stage, process-wise tracking, monitor chemical usage, record production time, track rework and loss, track process, cost, and allocate them by quality after selection to determine accurate price decisions. If you are thinking, how do we track all this? Through lot tracking and process routing in ERP. Here's where things get interesting. You bought all skins at one price, but after processing, some become premium, some become average, and some become low grade. Also, chemicals are applied based on weight. And obviously there are two kinds of weights, soaked weights and unsoaked weight. Each stage has its own recipe. ERP role here would be that recipe and BOM management, chemical consumption tracking, cost per stage calculation, final product costing. Now you can answer, what is the real cost of finished leather? In a tannery, multiple lots run together from different vendors, different batches and qualities. And after processing, similar categories are merged. ERP can calculate average cost of same category, combined output from multiple lots, stock levels of raw, semi-finished, finished, etc. What is the role of ERP here? Lot traceability, QR barcode possibly, inventory visibility, minimum stock alerts, overproduction control. Now no more last minute surprises. Let's summarize where ERP really changes things. Vendor grading, who is actually the best? Cost analysis, raw versus finished. Production planning, capacity versus demand. Inventory control, no overstock, no shortage. Traceability, lot to final product. Chemical planning, when and how much to buy. Labor and wage tracking. Financial control, profit per product, per order. Prediction and planning. ERP doesn't just store data, it connects everything. Let's say vendor A sells cheaper raw skin, but vendor B sells slightly expensive. Without ERP, you choose vendor A. But with ERP, you see that vendor A who supplies cheaper skins, but ultimately out of those cheaper skins, you get more C-grade output. But with vendor B, from which you get slightly more expensive skin, you get more grade A skins. So ultimately, vendor B is your correct vendor to go with. This is the power of visibility. The leather process is complex, time-consuming, and highly dependent on experience. But experience alone cannot scale a business. ERP does not replace your experience, but it supports it, it records it, it improves it, and it makes it usable across the organization. Because at the end of the day, you are not just producing leather, you are managing quality, cost, time, and profit all together. And ERP helps you control all of it. If you like this content, hit like and subscribe to Impliway.